can you form under each condition? Why is there a 9 in front? If it was 0, would it be a 3-digit number? You could have some debate on that. But basically, they said don't use 0 as the leading digit. Okay, fine. So there's not 10 options. Now there are only 9. What would change on letter B? I heard 10, 9, 10, I think. I heard 999, 998. Why is the first blank still going to be 9? Okay, so that condition is still the same, right? But I still have 3 digits, so I have 2 more blanks. Why would the next one also be 9? Because you just used one, so out of that 0 to, not 0, out of the 1 to 9, you used one, so now you only have 8 options. Now the 0 comes back in, so now you have 9 options. But not 10, because as some of your classmates said, good job, 1 was already used. How about for the last one? It's going to be 8, because how many were already used? 2, and then you only have 8 remaining. So then you would go ahead and multiply that out to be 72 times 9. Any mental mathers? Is it 683? Might be wrong. 72 times 9? No. 63? Oh, 8. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 642. Yeah, 648, right? Because if you multiply, you have 18 and then carry the 1. How about letter C? Ready, set, pause in groups. Let me give you 30 seconds. What would change? What would change? Okay, my groups haven't checked in yet. Check in with each other as to what you think it is and why. Have you guys checked in yet? Oh, you're checking in. Janelle, Toby, checked in yet? It's starting to get annoying. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Melanie, what do you think? What should the first blank be? No, not a 1. The very first, oh, sorry. The first blank, this blank. Why is it 9? Okay, but it can be 1 through 9 still. So there are 9 options for the first blank, meaning the hundredths blank. Maybe I should have put it that way. How about for the tens blank? Why 10? Oh, this doesn't matter with the multiple of 5? Okay, so then what goes in the last blank? Because what can a number end in and still be a multiple of 5? 0 or 5. There are only 2 options for that last blank. Does that make sense? So then you would go and multiply that one out. That one's easy. That's just 180, right? Okay. Letter D. Let's talk through this one together. There is a way to do it with blanks. But can anyone just think of logically? How many numbers are at least 400? Why would it make sense that 600 are at least 400? Is it 601? How many 3-digit numbers are there in total? Nope. If it does not say cannot be 0, then I guess technically we could say 0, 0, 0 is 1. So then we'd say there are 1,000 3-digit numbers, 0, 0, 0 to 999. Okay. So if there are 1,000, you would think at least 400, just cut it in half. Not in half, sorry. Cut it off at 400, there'd be 600. Some people are trying to think of 601. Maybe some people are thinking of 599. How do we know which side it lands on? So at least 400, can it include 400? The answer is yes. So if it can include 400, but it excludes 0, 0, 0. Let's do the fundamental counting principle way. So we have between 600 and 601, I think, is where most of us are. At least 400. Question, how many options do I have for the ones place? Yeah, I can use digits 0 through 9. How about for the tens place? Yep, I can use 0 through 9, but for the hundreds place, how many options do I have? Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Right? So I can't go to 0. That's not going to work. But I have 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. All those hundreds are legal. All 6 of those hundreds. Which ones aren't? 0's legal. 1's not legal. 2's not legal. 3's not legal. So how many options are there? There are 600. Not 601. The 0, 0, 0 is on the less than 400 side. Colby, did I answer your question? Okay. Melanie.
For C, how come the middle one is 10?
Oh, because think about it. Can you have multiples of 5 that have a tens place of 0 to 9? Yes, because as long as I have, my options would be either 0 or 5. And this one is just not 0. So not 0 took away 1. Only 0 or 5 said only 2. But I could have 1 with 0, 1 with 5. 2 with 0, 2 with 5. 0 with 0, 0 with 5. 9 with 0, 9 with 5. There are no restrictions on the middle guy. Because 95, 85, 75. I don't care about this one. I care about the ones place, not the tens place. Does that kind of make sense? Now, guys, technically, could we go through all the numbers 0 to 999 and count up how many multiples of 5 there are? I guess we could. That would take a lot of time, though. So this fundamental counting principle, remember the main idea of section 9.6. It's going to save us time and save us having to actually list everything out. Are you just putting gum in your mouth, Colby? Oh, okay. You were gloating over your group members, though. It's a little bit rough. I'm not entirely sure that's that much more legal, so focus. Permutation. Here we go. New stuff. Permutation. Last week, binomial theorem. What was that talking about? What were we doing with the binomial theorem? Yeah, we were expanding binomials. What really nifty trick helped us expand maybe faster sometimes for low powers? Pascal's triangle. And what was the special math operation that would let us jump to a place in Pascal's triangle without actually having to write the entire pattern down? Combinations, NCR. Where were combinations in your calculator? Yeah. Good. Prob 4. What's that stand for? PRB. Probability. Combinations, NCR. We're going to get to that in just a second, but first of all, we're going to cover NPR. But guess where he's also going to be in your calculator? Same place, math prob. NPR. So NCR, we did not talk about combinations yet in terms of probability, but we did in terms of Pascal's. I kind of mentioned how it might have something to do with probability with the whole, as I drive from home here, the different lights that stoplights I'm going to encounter, whether they'll be red or green, and what are the chances that I hit 5 of them green, etc. And I said somehow the binomial theorem connects with that or helps us with that. So we're getting up towards combination and what they really are and what it really means in terms of probability. But first, permutation. And the most important thing to remember with permutation is that order matters. See the little exclamation point? It's not a factorial. It's just important. Permutation, order matters. I think my first, second year teaching, I had people memorizing POP. Permutation, order is important. I don't know, it was silly. But For permutation, order is important. It's important that a certain element is first and a certain one is second, etc., etc., etc. Or in the example down below, how many permutations? I mean, that was easy. This is easy. They tell you permutation in the actual question itself. But it's not always that easy. Sometimes you have to keep an eye open and be like, does order matter? Does it not? Another way that they can say, especially dealing with letters, that order is important is they can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many letters are there? 6? Instead of permutations, they could also say how many 6-letter words. For letters specifically, they could say something about 6-letter words. They could say the word arrangements, because arrangements denotes that the actual arranging of the objects are important. So there are a few different words that can come in. And as we do some examples, I might go ahead and label whether combination or permutation to see by example also. But long story short, the order is important. The order matters. If we were just given this example, how many permutations of the letters A, B, C, D, and E, and F are possible? How would you guys think of doing it with the fundamental counting principle? 6 factorial? How come? How many letters do we have to fill in if we're going to rearrange those 6 tiles, those 6 individual letters? Yeah, you can think of them as like Scrabble tiles. All we have is 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F. So we have 6 to begin with for the first letter. So then it would end up being 6 factorial ways. You're exactly right, which ends up being, I believe, 720. But here's a question. What would make this not be entirely 6 factorial? What would change in the question? What would they need to ask differently in order to have it still start with 6, but not go all the way down to 1? Four-letter word from those 6 letters? Think of what Colby just said. Would that make sense? Would it still start with 6 but not get to go back to 1? So if they said how many 4-letter permutations or 4-letter arrangements or 4-letter words. Now, hold on, pause. They don't have to be actual, like in the English language words. Words with friends would count it. Scrabble would count it as far as points. Words just means like a combination of letters, if they do ever say that. But what would be different if there were only 4 letters that you were choosing? When would you stop? Yeah. So mathematically, I mean, we could multiply that. That's not really the point. The point is there's this actual formula for permutations. And I'm trying to lead into you guys seeing why the formula is what it is. Mathematically, how could you show, theoretically, it should have been all of 6 factorial, but some is missing. How can we show that like in an expression? Any ideas? Sadly, minusing, though, isn't going to take it, but dividing will. So if we take all of 6 factorial and say, hey, let's divide by 2 factorial. Now, wait. Where could that 2 have come from? Because you're missing 2. And why are you missing 2? You're only using 4 when you've been given 6. So let's see if it makes sense then. Why is it a permutation? I mean, that should be pretty obvious. Why is it a permutation? Is it a different arrangement of letters if you have A, B, C, D, E, then F, or if you have B, A, C, D, E? Is it a different word if the letters are in different places? The answer would be yes. Okay, so that's why it's a permutation. But does this formula make sense? Permutations, NPR, how many total objects, N elements, or N objects, or N items that you're dealing with? How many total objects divided by, because you need to cancel out the blanks that aren't being used, divided by n minus r. How many more objects do you have than objects you are taking? So r is how many you're selecting, n is how many total. And even though sometimes you will get all the way back to 1, If you have six objects and you're arranging those 6. If you have 5 objects, you're arranging those 5. If you have 10 objects and you're arranging all 10 of them. Then maybe you'll get the entire factorial. But if you're only taking a few at a time, only some of them, not all of them, then you're going to have to think about this division. And Colby, you were totally right in the sense of you were thinking of, okay, but take away, but you were thinking take away in a sense, like I want to get rid of it, but mathematically, you guys finally got there when you divide it in order to cancel out those multiplications. So that's the formula for NPR. Does it look similar to the formula of NCR? Yeah, it totally does. It's a little bit different though. There's one extra piece to an NCR, and we'll have to figure out why does it have that extra piece. But for right now, you have n total elements, or in this example, n total people. What would your n be for the batting orders? N is the total number. R is how many we're choosing. So you could even put, if it helps, maybe off to the side, n total. I won't say taking, let me say arranging. If my board would work, let me get out of the way. Sorry, guys. Not sure why it doesn't like me today. And no idea. There's a ghost again in the board. You could say arranging, you could say ordering. Pretend that's a G. That didn't just freak out. Okay, it's up to you guys to write it. I'm just going to give up. N total, arranging R of them. I swear I just oriented it. You guys saw that, right? Sometimes it makes me think I'm going crazy. N total, arranging R of them. Good thing God is bigger than a smartboard, huh? Everything will be all right. So, how many total players are we dealing with? Let's see if it works better on this half of the page. Because they're creating a 9-player batting order, but they have 15 total. So we could say for this example, N is equal to 15, but what's R? So if we were just to strictly say, hey, batting order, I think it's important what order the batters bat, right? Or it would be a different batting order if the arrangement was different. And some of you guys that like baseball, you know that games are made or broken sometimes based on the batting order and how it all turns out. But we could just plug in. And if we just plugged in, we would have 15 factorial all over 15 minus 9 factorial, which ends up being 15 factorial over 6 factorial, right? That is a crazy huge number. So what's going to happen? When do I stop? Why does that make sense? From the fundamental counting principle, why does it make sense it'd be 15, 14, 13, all the way down to 7? Yeah, does that kind of make sense, guys? Like there is a formula, and yes, there's a button in your calculator, and yes, if there's a calculator portion of the test, you can use it. But I'm trying to make sure the idea makes sense, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different spots. And how many kids do they have to choose to be first in the batting order? 15, but can you use the same kid twice? No. So then how many for the next one? Well, depending on where you're playing and how official it is. But the answer should be no. So then it makes sense that you'd have 7 times 8 times 9 all the way up to 15, because you're not going to use the other 6. Not for this batting order anyway. What do we have? 1 billion. 16? Okay. 400 even? Are there options? Yes. Are there obviously different variables that go into choosing, so that a coach is probably literally thinking of 1,816,214 whatevers? There was a million I left out somewhere. 1.8-ish billion different options. Yeah, coaches are like, oh, well, obviously I wouldn't put this person, etc. But that's how many technical different options there are. And it might not be that big a deal for batting orders because you guys know coaches have all these different variables they're thinking of, and then their assistant coaches have their opinions, and then maybe like team captains. But even though the orders might not make a big deal for something like batting orders because the coach probably literally is not thinking of 1.8 billion different ways, why is it helpful maybe when talking about license plates like we did a second ago? Why is it helpful to think ahead how many different possible options there are? Think about the population for your state, right? And the possible population for the projected increase in drivers, or, I mean, you have obviously every year some that no longer need to be used for whatever reason. Cars that go out of commission, or DMV registrations that are not renewed, or people that pass away, et cetera, and their cars, this, that, or the other. But you also have new drivers that are coming. And it's pretty important to plan ahead and think of, will we have enough license plates? Because what's the dilemma if they don't plan ahead and all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's the last license plate. You can't give any more registration, can't have any more new drivers or new cars. Or you start repeating license plates, but then what's that gonna? Then chaos rules, right? Like, oh, who got the ticket, me or person number 2 that has the same license plate? Is there any other thing in real life that it might be helpful to think ahead of how many options there are possible? Social security numbers? Telephone numbers? Area codes? In LA, have they added any new area codes in the last, 10 years? Oh, yeah, they have. Yeah, brand new area codes that have arisen. It's right around San Fernando Valley, too. As they are running out of new codes for new regions in order to be available for the population. Anyway, interesting. Projecting different population growth, et cetera. Yeah?
I'm sorry, but this is super off topic. I'll just make it fast. Is there just a car number 1 out there, or do they limit it to 3 digits or something?
Is there a car? You mean like patient 0? Like, is there a car 1?
Is there a license plate that just says 1?
No, because here's why. When you guys look at California license plates, and California is going to be different than like North or South Dakota, who knows what they do, but just some, like how many letters and how many. The personalized one, so then kind of like the options grow a little bit, but then people have to pay for that, so it's optional. Not everyone's going to take advantage of it, but there's no just one because you need letters to go along with it. I think it's, 3 letters? Right? Yeah. So a normal license plate can't just have 1, but could it theoretically have AAA and 00? I don't know. Yeah, it could theoretically, but there might be more restrictions than even I know, because they might have said, okay, license plates only. That way they kind of kept safe this whole category by saying that we don't want license plates starting with a 0, or we don't want 3 letters in a row, or they could have left some qualifications. I honestly don't know. Good thing to Google. Repeated objects. Here's a dilemma. Repeated objects. What if I was to ask you about arrangements of the letters? Ready? That didn't work. How many different 3-letter words could I make with AAA? 1. If you're playing Scrabble and you have AAA, how many different ways are you really going to be shuffling them, trying to figure out what the different options are? There's 1, A and A and A. Now, yes, I know there's a board and where you can put it, etc. But just as far as putting your tiles, it's AAA. That's all you got. It's not like there's a blue one and a yellow one and whatever, like Rummikub, and you have to put it certain ways. But just AAA, there's 1 arrangement. So as soon as you have repeats, the different arrangements start to decrease. For instance, what if I was to say, what if there was AA and then B and D? Permutations would say 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 factorial. How many 4-letter words? 4, 3, 2, 1, right? But the problem is, thank you, but shush. Even though we would think of 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, The dilemma is, but guys, wouldn't that be all the different possible rearrangements? What if you just switch the two A's? Is that a different word? No. Well, what if we move these over and then switch the two A's? Is that a different word? Okay, so here's the struggle. Whenever you have repeats, you're still going to think about the permutations and start there, but like we did before when we had 6 objects but only 4 blanks and we had to take some away, we have to take some away here too. And how we're going to take them away is, once again, we're going to divide. But as we divide, we're going to divide by saying, hey, how many repeats are there? There's 1 repeat, and it's repeated 2 times. We're going to divide by the 2 factorial. Whoa. So what if I was to do something like throw in a few more B's? First of all, I'd have to change this, right? Because how many total letters do I have now? 6. So I would take 6 factorial, because I'm arranging all 6. If I was only arranging 4, it'd be 6p4. But I have all 6, and then now how many repeats do I have? Well, I have the 2 repeats of A's. The A's are repeated twice, and the B's are repeated 3 times. You're going to divide by the number of repeats. So what would you guys do for number 44? How many different possible arrangements, orderings, permutations of... It is 8 factorial, because that's just the number of different ways of moving the letters. But out of those 8 factorial, I have to take away and 3 factorial and 5 factorial. Now come on, mental mathers, stop. Come on, mental mathers. No, it's not. Come on, we've been simplifying factorials. Show off a little bit.
Oh, wait, no.
56.
You guys got that a 3 and 2 will reduce with a 6, right? The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is gone, so all we have is 56 different ways, or 56 permutations, right? That was scary. How about the last one, or the bottom one? 7 factorial, good, because we're arranging all 7 over. All we have is a repeated A, right? So 2 factorial. You're doing that? It's 720 times 7, which would be 4,090 divided by 2. So how could this get more exciting? Well, hold on. How much time do I have to be more exciting? I have time. Okay, so what if I was to say, in your groups, no one's saying the answer out loud, being quiet, you don't want to give all the answers away. If you have answers, if you don't, then it is what it is. But how many 3-letter words from, what's a good word with lots of repeats? I don't even know where you're going with that one. That one's in homework. Anything else? Race car? Yeah, that works. 0 has no repeats. Ready, set, go. How many 3-letter words are possible? How you doing, sir? Have you ever played this before? Okay. Object of the game is to get it all down to 1 peg. You move by jumping. Take 1 out. Whatever you jump over. See if you can do it. What's your name, Chris? Okay. I'm Miss Duke. Nice to meet you. My turn. Can I play? Why is this not right?
Because you have to do the 7 minus
It looks so good, right? It's what we've been doing. 7 factorial over 2 A's, 2 R's, and 2 C's. Oh, that didn't work. 2 A's, 2 R's, and 2 C's. We're right. No, we're wrong. What's the one piece I changed from the last problem? How many? Oh, I can't use all 7 blanks. I'm not doing 7-letter words. So I have to do 7p3, which would be 7 factorial divided by, I only have 3 blanks, guys. What's missing? 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, right? Because I only have 3 letters. I only have 3 letters. So I didn't have 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was only allowed to use 3 at a time. Then I had to divide by my repeats. So the repeat idea can come in at any point in time. I have 7 total. I'm only using 3 at a time. So I only had 7, 6, 5 different options to begin with. Not 7 factorial. I had to take away some of those options because I only had 3 blanks. Then I divide by the repeats. Does that make sense? Thanks, my 2 yeahs. Okay, go team. Last page. Boop, boop. Combinations. You've done them before. But what do they mean? Combinations. Little nugget to take with you. Permutations. Order is important. Order matters. Combinations, it's not. Here's my way of remembering. A combo pizza. Doesn't matter what order you put it on, whether you do the sausage, then the pepperoni, or the pepperoni, then the sausage. It's a sausage, pepperoni, sausage pizza. Same thing. If they deliver to you and you're like, oh, you put them on in the wrong order. No, you're not. No, they put the cheese on top. It's a little weird. But otherwise, the sauce on top's even weirder. But back to the toppings. It's a combo pizza. It's there. You're like, I can see it. Good. So, combination pizza, they use it right. Locker combination, they use it wrong. What should it be? Yep, spread the knowledge. Locker permutation is the proper way of saying it. Okay, so as we get down here, there are no presidents or vice presidents or positions. All we care is who's on the committee. It doesn't matter what seat they sit in, etc. So at the end of the day, we'll end up having, out of 7 administrators, choosing 1, and out of 12 faculty, choosing 3, and out of 20 students, choosing 2 different ways of forming the committee. Why is it a C and not a P? All we care is that they're on the committee. We don't care when they're chosen, the order they're chosen. The order does not matter. If there were positions, be packing up, because I think the bell didn't ring again. If there were president, vice president, secretary, well, if Maggie's the president or if Aryan's the president, maybe it's a different committee. Anyway, get out of here. Bye, guys. That would be a permutation. Adios, au revoir. Are we bringing that back?